No te pongas a lucir porque ya está escrito. No me digas, por favor, no me. Thanks so much.
Gather round. Well, good morning, everyone. This is the first opportunity I've had to be part of one of these ceremonies, and I'm honored to be here with my colleagues from the City Council and so many great leaders from this city. What's really a historic day as we take a huge step forward for the families of our city and make sure so many more people are protected in terms of what they need when they are sick. I want to go into detail, but first let me talk about all of the people who made this legislation possible. It's really important at moments like this to give credit where credit is due. First, a particular thank you to the original sponsor of the paid sick leave bill, who fought for years and years to make sure it was given a vote and that it would become law. Former Councilmember Gail Brewer, now Manhattan Borough President. And then for the bill before us today, introductory number 1A. It was sponsored at the request of our administration by Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito. I want to thank her so much for her extraordinary leadership to make sure over 500,000 more New Yorkers get paid sick leave coverage. I want to thank the Speaker. I want to thank Council Members Chin. These are all the co-sponsors. Council Members Chin, Cohen, Constantinides, Cornegie, Crowley, Kumbo, Drum, Eugene, thank you very much, Ferreras, Johnson, Callas, King, Koo, Koslowitz, Lanceman, Lander, Levin, Levine, Menchaca, Miller, thank you, Reynoso, Richards, thank you, Rodriguez, Rose, Rosenthal, Torres, Van Bramer, Barron, Espinal, Gibson, Palma, Dickens, Maisel, Mendez, Williams, Vaca, Cabrera, and Garodnik. You know, sometimes we say we're at a historic moment. This is truly a historic day for New York City. This day earns that title. 500,000 more people will have paid sick leave when they need it. 500,000 more families will be protected. You know, for people who don't have paid sick leave, it's a very tough choice they have to make, and they have to make it all the time. If they're sick, they have to go to work sick, probably get a lot sicker, probably get a lot of other people sick in the bargain. Or if they don't go to work, they're going to lose a day's pay. They're going to lose 2 days' pay. They're going to lose a week's pay. For so many New Yorkers today, that's an almost insurmountable burden because so many people are living paycheck to paycheck. 46% of our city at or near the poverty level. They don't have a day's pay to give away. They don't have a week's pay to give away. And they certainly can't ignore the reality of their families. When a family member is sick and needs help, it's very, very difficult to leave that family member behind. Or when a child is sick, if a parent can't take care of them, is their only option to send them to school sick, where they'll just get worse and make others sicker? It's not the New York City that I believe in. We can do better, and that's what this legislation is all about. And think about, for so many New York families, until this moment, waking up in the morning to a sick child or to a sudden illness themselves, it's not just a stressful situation. It can literally throw a family into crisis. Think about a mother of 2 at a minimum wage job. Think of what it means to her to miss a day's pay or 2 days' pay or a week's pay. It can literally mean the difference between being able to pay the rent or not, or being able to put enough food on the table or not. That's how close to the edge so many New Yorkers are living. And what's holding them back is when they're sick up until now, they haven't had the protections they need. We've made it our mission to lift up families who are struggling, to raise the floor for people trying to work their way to some kind of basic economic security. And that is the mark of a compassionate city, of a city that actually values families. We've heard the words family values for many decades. If we actually value families, we protect families. We pass laws that keep families intact, that keep them strong, that keep them economically viable. That's the kind of city I believe in. I also believe in a city that values work. And we can only value work if we make sure that people's work provides enough for them to get by, knowing that their pay won't be interrupted just because they got sick for no fault of their own or their child got sick. If we're going to truly value work, we have to be consistent about it. It's also the mark of a city that actually cares about children to make sure that parents can attend to their children when they're sick. It's a mark of a city that cares about our seniors to make sure that we can take care of our grandparents when they're sick. You know, the benefits of paid sick leave extend far beyond the positive impact on individual families. It's also about making all of our businesses run better and protecting the health and welfare of their customers, our schools, our hospitals, and in fact, many employers themselves have noted the increased productivity that comes with a healthier workforce, the lower employee turnover, the reduced transmission of illness. There are many other benefits to comprehensive sick leave coverage. This legislation builds on the progress that the City Council made last year. I've already been praising you in absentia, Gail Brewer. The City Council made last year passing a version of the original bill proposed by Councilmember Brewer. Well, this actually is getting to the core today of the original bill proposed by Councilmember Brewer. Truly comprehensive paid sick leave law. And we make significant enhancements that will extend those benefits this year to nearly 500,000 additional New Yorkers. That means people working at businesses with 5 or more employees. They will be covered as of this April 1st, 2 weeks and 1 day from today. The current law, although it represented progress, by this April 1st would only have covered folks who work in companies of 20 or more employees. Our law covers those who work in companies of 5 or more employees starting this April 1st. We didn't want to phase in. We didn't want to wait. We didn't want people who were sick to suffer more. We didn't want families to fall backwards further economically. We wanted to do this now. And for so many people, they just couldn't wait, and now they'll know as of April 1st they will be protected. In addition to extending the number of employees covered, this legislation makes important additional changes, including extending the opportunity for paid sick leave time to be used to care for grandparents, grandchildren, and siblings. By doing that, we recognize that our families come in all shapes and sizes. You know, I think what President Clinton said on the day of our inauguration, that my family and I represent a modern family. Well, there's a lot of modern families in New York City. There's a lot of families of all kinds. We love them all, and we embrace them all equally. This legislation recognizes that reality and shows that government values each and every kind of family, each and every kind of caregiver. We need to give them the opportunity to provide that care. This law is the first of many steps we are taking to fundamentally address inequality in this city and make this a city where everyone rises together. I want to thank all of our partners who have devoted years to bringing us to this moment. I'm going to call up Gail Brewer in a moment, but again want to emphasize, when I spoke to Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito about making this one of our first priorities, she eagerly embraced the mission. And my colleagues here from the City Council and so many others were enthusiastic to reach out this help to 500,000 more New Yorkers. They wanted it to be one of the top priorities. But again, when we give credit where credit is due, let's start at the beginning. The woman who pushed for this legislation through good times and bad and made sure it would come to fruition, Gail Brewer. I'm going to call you up. I realize I have to say a few more things before I call you up. Hold on one second. Hold on. I jumped ahead the gun here. I also want, there's a lot of great people in this room who played a major, major role. Again, this was a long, long struggle. It wasn't easy. It wasn't always on the front pages, was it, Martha Baker? So, so to all the countless advocates and organizers who kept this reform at center stage in their agenda, even if it wasn't on the front pages, I want to thank them all, including A Better Balance, Make the Road New York, the Restaurant Opportunity Center of New York, the Paid Sick Leave Coalition, and many labor organizations representing every type of work and walk of life in this city. I also want to thank members of our administration who will be in the front line of implementing this new legislation. Starting with our Deputy Mayor, Alicia Glenn, I want to thank the leaders at the Consumer Affairs Department, Deputy Commissioners Alba Pico and Marla Tepper, and all the staff from my office who's taken a lead on this issue, and of course the Law Department for all of their work developing implementation plans that will serve and respect the interests of both businesses and workers for years to come. A few words in Spanish, if I may. Hemos asumido la misión de ayudar a todas las familias a tener una mejor calidad de vida. Esta ley extenderá los beneficios de días de enfermedad pagados a casi medio millón de neoyorquinos. Este es el primero de muchos pasos para enfrentar la desigualdad, muchas gracias, en nuestra ciudad y para hacer de Nueva York una ciudad donde todos podamos progresar. Rafael, I'm having one of those days. When I'm turning to the Creole speaker for Spanish help. With that, I would like to welcome the original sponsor of this bill, Gail Brewer.
I can do it in French.
Would you do it in French? Do you want the step? I think you need it. No, you need the step. You need the step. Come on.
I don't like that damn step.
Come on. Work with the step.
Oh, this one's right.
There you go.
Thank you very much, Bill de
Now people can actually
Blasio.
see you.
They can see me anyway. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here. It's a very special day. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can do this whole thing in French, but that's okay.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Je comprends alors. This is a very special day. I see several people, Donna, Martha, Shula, Jared, and many others who made this possible, certainly Make the Road, and all the organizations. When we started this discussion, I don't think we ever knew that it would create such a large campaign philosophy, and I want to thank the mayor because he made it an issue, as did others, to say that this is an important issue, and I think it helped us pass it in the city council. And I'm all about results. How you get there is important, but obviously the end is to have something that makes a difference in people's lives. I'm delighted that we've gotten to this point today, and I'll be really specific. Some of the good news part of this is that it's going to start at the date that was originally proposed, and the entire bill is going to go into effect. There's a caveat for some of the smaller businesses who will take a little bit more time to be able to figure out what is the right way to go. Second, we're all going to be meeting with the Chambers of Commerce to go through any questions that they may have. Sherry and Jared have been an amazing attorney team from A Better Balance to be able to answer people's questions, and that will, I think, be extremely helpful. We have lots of examples from other cities where all of us have spent pushing the button for the government officials who are implementing and the business organizations that are part of the city's fabric, and we have not found any major issues. I am glad that this continues to be a complaint-based system. I think that that's the right way to go. The other good news is we'll do a lot of education. Every other city said that when the employees and the employers are educated by the city and also by groups like Make the Road and other organizations, then there is no problem in terms of implementation. So education is the key. And we have the time to do that. We have the expertise to do that. We have the will to do that. We have the commitment to do that. And I think that's what will make a difference in our large city. This is hopefully will also save money at the hospitals. We all know that many people go to the hospital at night because they can't go during the day because they don't have paid sick days. So this will make a huge difference in terms of the hospitals. We heard one estimate of saving $39 million in terms of hospital costs because people will have a quality primary care doctor to be able to go to instead of an emergency room. So there are just so many ways in which this bill will make a difference. I'm also interested in some of the large, I won't name names, but some of the large chains that have come to our city. People know how I feel about some of them. But the fact of the matter is, in some cases in some other states where there is no paid sick days, they get 1 week even after 5 years or 6 years of retail work. And this will at least give people the opportunity to take a vacation and, if sick, days off. I will say that in every other city, we have not seen the issue of somebody taking a Monday or a Friday. If you're a good worker, you're a good worker, and you understand loyalty to that business. In fact, as the mayor has said many times, you end up with a more loyal employee because he or she has the opportunity to take care of herself and her family. So this is a win-win for New York. It's very exciting to be part of a city fabric government that takes this issue so seriously. Those of us who spent a great deal of time, hundreds and thousands of meetings and phone calls and press conferences, this is a very special day. I didn't do it alone. The whole city council worked with me, and also many, many individuals in the community. But I thank everyone. I thank this guy a lot because he did mention it. Do you remember? A lot. Thank you.
Our colleagues, Danique, do you care to speak?
Not a word. Not a word about the platform. But I want to start by thanking the mayor for addressing this really, really important issue and his leadership on this issue, as well as thanking the speaker, Mark Viverito, for making this a priority, and former council member, Borough President Brewer, for her tireless, relentless effort that she's put forth in making this happen. Also, Council Member Chin, who sponsored this version and the work that she's put in. A lot of folks around this room have put in a lot of effort to make this day happen. This is a really powerful piece of legislation. And I will say to you, as a single parent and a former labor leader, I've sat there early, more than a decade, in cultivating and developing this idea of paid sick leave, and more than a decade later, it is finally coming to fruition, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. I'm honored to be a part of this effort and to have chaired the committees and hearings that allowed the workers and the employees to come in and give their opinions and give their testimony to get us to the point that we are today, that we have this fine piece of legislation that respects and values working people, that respects and values our small businesses, and collectively that will bring a very, very necessary benefit to the working families of the people of New York City. This bill obviously is important because it will bring that balance that is so well needed and deserved for our working families and the family members that they support. And again, I'd just like to thank the mayor and the leadership and my fellow council members for their support on this really, really important issue. And I'd like to thank the mayor for baptism by fire, and thrusting me immediately into this one. But we certainly we were obviously prepared for it, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Richards. Whoops.
Oh. Do I need this?
You decide.
Guess I can get as tall as you. Just want to say that this is an awesome bill. As someone who was born to teenage parents who could not take days off of work because they had, several children, in between that time frame. This bill is important for people like my family. Also, just thinking of back to the days of Hurricane Sandy, when many of our constituents' homes were flooded and underwater, and some of them would come in and say they were being threatened by their boss to come into work. This bill addresses and goes a long way to make sure that families in the Rockaways who went through that ordeal now have the opportunity, if they need to take a few days off to take care of personal business, they have it. So I commend the mayor, the speaker, and obviously our new Manhattan Borough president, who in my second day in office came knocking on my door. First day he came in and said, Donovan, sign on right away. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Councilmember.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm very proud and very delighted to be here because this is a very important legislation. It is legislation that addresses a critical issue, a very important issue that affects so many hardworking people who make our city work. And I think this is a very important legislation because it is a public health issue also. Just imagine, I usually say that health is the most precious gift that we receive from God. If you don't have health, there is nothing you can do. For those hardworking people to be productive, they got to be healthy. And they cannot be healthy if they don't have the right to take the day to go to seek treatment and to go to the doctors if they feel sick. And just imagine also, you fathers, mothers, you see your children sick, you cannot stay home to take care of them. This is not human, this is not right. And I think this piece of legislation is a very important one. And I'm so proud to be part of it. I commend the mayor for his leadership, and I commend also my colleagues, my colleague, and also Board President Bria. Thank you so much. Je vous en prie, vous savez? Je vous en prie. That benefits not only the hardworking people, but also the co-workers. Just imagine, you go to McDonald's, Burger King, go to buy something to eat, and somebody's coughing, sneezing. Are you going to buy? Come on. Again, it is a pleasure for me. We do the right thing. This is our responsibility as a society. This is our responsibility as a city to make sure that the people that we are serving, they're healthy, to make sure that we respect the right of people to seek, medical assistance when they are sick, and also the right to stay home to take care of their children when they are sick. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to say another point or two I'd like to make, and then would like to see if I'm going to give Councilmember Adonis Rodriguez a chance to get into the flow here if you'd like to say a few words before we call for public comment. But to the point that Borough President Brewer made, when all of us engaged this issue, we looked around the country and we saw it was an issue as time had come. Gail will correct me if I miss here, but San Francisco, Seattle, District of Columbia, state of Connecticut, and then more recent months, places like Philadelphia. What was so interesting is, despite some of the dire prognostications, the record was similar in all of these locations. A lot of people benefited. And what happened with the businesses was workers played by the rules. If they were really sick, they called in sick. If they weren't really sick, they came to work. It's as simple as that. And we found it was very carefully studied, especially in San Francisco, and we found that to be the case. What we also found, the more we looked into it, was that it affected the quality of the workplace because sick people were not infecting their coworkers. People were able to get well and come back strong. They weren't infecting their customers. And it did lead to greater loyalty amongst employees, greater effectiveness, greater productivity. So this is such an example of progressive legislation in every sense. Progressive because it recognizes the nature of modern society and the modern family. Progressive because it is compassionate and inclusive. Progressive because it helps our workplaces to be safer and our workforce to be more productive. It's really a win-win. And more as employers in different cities and states that have had this legislation have experienced it, they've seen that it's a good thing all around. Before we turn to public testimony, let me call forward Councilman Reydanis Rodriguez.
Portland and Seattle, and Philadelphia is working on it.
There you go.
Thank you. Well, I'm so happy that I can tell my daughters, that in a more progressive time of the city of New York, but I had no doubt that we had the most progressive mayor and the most progressive speaker that we have ever had in our history. We are telling our working class, you have the right to stay home when you're sick. So as a council member, I know that I have the right. As a former teacher, I know that I have the right. So it is unfair for me to tell my working class people that they were not protected, that they could live in a more developed city, or in one of the most developed cities of the world, without having that right. So for me, it's a historic day. And I'm so happy that with the leadership, with the mayor and the speaker, and our borough president, who also was a leader in this bill, we are making history, not only for us, but for the future generation of the great city of New York. Thank you.
Don't go away. En español.
No,
I've got a pinch hitter here.
No, para mí es muy importante, un día histórico, poder decirle a mis dos niñas que ellas están viviendo en una ciudad donde la clase trabajadora se le protege el derecho, donde el mismo derecho que yo tengo como oficial electo de quedarme en la casa si estoy enfermo, el mismo derecho que yo tenía cuando era maestro de quedarme en la casa si estaba enfermo, lo puedan tener también las personas trabajadoras. Este es un día histórico que solamente se puede lograr teniendo el alcalde y la vocera más progresista que hemos conocido en la historia de Nueva York. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Yeah. Okay, come on up. Okay. I'm going to call up the public speakers. Now I have, it looks like Guillermo Serna, is that right? Serna. Guillermo, welcome. And actually, we're going to have a 2-minute time limit on public speakers. We have about 10 or so, I think. So there's your clock right there. Just keep track. Guillermo, go for it.
Buenos días para todos. Mi nombre es Guillermo Serna y soy miembro de SACE Camino a Nueva York. Yo vivo en Queens y ha sido mi hogar desde que llegué por primera vez hace 16 años a esta ciudad. Soy padre de familia y tengo 2 hijas. Durante los últimos 14 años he trabajado en un builder en mantenimiento. A lo largo de mi tiempo en esta empresa nunca he tenido días de enfermedades pagos. Siempre que me he enfermado me ha tocado ir a trabajar. Para mí ha sido muy difícil quedarme en la casa para recuperarme porque me van a descontar un día, lo cual se me abre el bolsillo para otras clases de gastos en mi familia. Hace 2 años, cuando se aprobó por primera vez la ronda de días de enfermedades pagos en la ley, me sentí muy feliz porque los trabajadores a través de esta ciudad, sin embargo, yo trabajaba en un negocio con 9 empleados y no estaba cubierto. Hoy me siento más entusiasmado que nunca. La expansión de este proyecto de ley cubrirá cientos de miles de trabajadores adicionales a través de esta ciudad, incluyéndome a mí. He pasado gran parte del tiempo luchando por este proyecto de ley porque tiene sentido y creo que todos los trabajadores, no importa lo grande o pequeña que sea su compañía, merecen tomarse un día libre cuando están enfermos. Me gustaría darle las gracias a nuestro alcalde y al Consejo Municipal por su apoyo a este proyecto de ley. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. We'll give time for the Spanish translation.
Yes,
I mean, the
thank
English
you.
translation. Thank you.
My name is Guillermo, and I'm a member of Make the Road New York. I live in Queens, which has been my home since first I arrived 16 years ago. I have 2 daughters and a beautiful granddaughter. During the past 14 years, I worked as a janitor. Throughout my time with this company, I have never had paid sick days. There have been many times when I felt sick, but between fights and still working. If I miss work, I lose a day's pay. With a family to take care, I just cannot lose a full day of work. 2 years ago, when the first round of paid sick days law was passed, I felt happy for the workers throughout the city. However, because I was working in a business with only 9 employees, I was never covered. Today, I'm more excited than ever. The expansion of this paid sick days will cover hundreds of thousands of additional workers like myself in this city. I have spent much of my time fighting for this bill because it makes sense. I believe that all workers, no matter how big a company is, should take a day off when sick. I would like to thank our mayor and city council for their support for this bill. Yes, we can.
Gracias. Now I'd like to call up Martha Baker of the New York Paid Sick Leave Coalition. You have to forgive Martha. She's rather shy. She's not used to public speaking. She may have to compose herself for a moment. It's okay, Martha, you can do it.
Thank you for the time. Actually, I didn't want to take other people's time, so I hadn't thought I would speak at all. Mostly, I'm here to say thank you. We've heard time and again what the bill is about, but the fact that we have it deserves a huge thank you and a shout out, as we've said before, and I will say again. Firstly, to Gail Brewer, who worked, and Shula, because without Shula, this never would have happened. For 4 years, we worked on this bill tirelessly. But without that effort on everybody's part, it would never have happened. I want to thank our major partners, the New York Paid Leave Coalition, A Better Balance, Make the Road New York, Rock New York, and the New York City Central Labor Council. Also, I want to thank the staff. The staff in the Speaker's office worked tirelessly with us for 4 years to hone a bill that they could live with and we could live with, even though some of us were not satisfied the first time around. The fact is, the staff did what they could and the best they could, given what they had. Now I want to thank our Speaker, Speaker Mark Viverito, who has undertaken to do the expansion of the bill. She was an outspoken advocate for the bill when she was just a council member, and now as Speaker to make this our #1 effort for our new administration is very, very exciting. But mostly, of course, I want to thank our mayor, who has been a huge advocate from day one of this bill, who never stopped talking about it. And even when the first bill was passed, and we thought we were going to have to live with that for a while, he never gave up talking about how it would expand and the rest of us would be reached. And I can just say, as a consumer and a consumer with health issues, I am so appreciative that people can take time off when they're ill and not spread the germs. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Next, we have Jared, and I don't know if it's Make, okay, from A Better Balance. As Jared's coming up, I want to say, Martha, the moral of the story is if at first you don't succeed, try again.
That's good. I'm going to have to read.
Remember that. I just made that up. That's right. Jared.
Thank you. My name is Jared Make. I'm a senior staff attorney at A Better Balance, a national legal advocacy organization based in New York City, whose mission is to promote equality and expand choices for men and women at all income levels so they can care for their families without sacrificing their economic security. To advance our mission, A Better Balance helps to draft paid sick time legislation throughout the country and did so here in New York City. For more than 4 years, we have been part of the coalition that worked with now Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer and Shula Warren to pass the Earned Sick Time Act, which will soon guarantee sick time to the nearly 1.2 million private sector workers in New York City who do not receive a single day off for personal or family health needs. A Better Balance applauds the administration and New York City Council for expanding the Earned Sick Time Act that was negotiated and passed last year, as that bill did not provide coverage to many New Yorkers due to large carve-outs based on business size and the exclusion of manufacturing workers. We're delighted that the expanded law will allow the city to proactively enforce the right to sick time and will increase the time in which workers can file complaints, which will lead to greater protection for workers who are denied sick time or face retaliation for exercising their rights. Our organization is also pleased that the law has been amended to cover care for grandparents, grandchildren, and siblings, which will better recognize the many diverse types of families in New York City. We're proud that New York City has joined the growing list of cities around the country to guarantee that workers receive sick time. Beginning with San Francisco in 2006, paid sick time laws have been passed in Washington, D.C., Connecticut, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Jersey City, and Newark, and these paid sick time laws are working well. Studies in San Francisco, Seattle, Washington, D.C., and Connecticut have proven that paid sick time laws don't harm business or lead to job loss. Rather, research on these paid sick time laws show that this type of legislation creates healthier and stronger businesses, lowers the spread of communicable illness, and provides an essential benefit to workers and their loved ones. Based on the documented success of paid sick time laws around the United States, the expansion to New York City's paid sick time law should be signed and implemented without delay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Mauricio Jimenez of Make the Road New York.
Mi nombre es Mauricio Jiménez y soy miembro del Comité de Trabajadores Se Hace Camino en New York. Emigré a Nueva York hace más de 11 años. Yo vine a este país para hacer un futuro mejor para mí. He trabajado en muchas industrias, lavando coches, instalación eléctricas y construcción. Cuando llegué aquí pensé que los trabajadores de este país recibirían mejor trato, condiciones de trabajo seguros y un salario digno y protecciones como los días de enfermedad pagados para cuidar de uno mismo. Este no ha sido mi caso en la experiencia. Actualmente trabajo en una compañía de electricidad y construcción en Brooklyn, New York, como asistente. Trabajo tantas horas largas y duras por poco dinero. Este trabajo me lleva hacia abajo muy físicamente, especialmente los días de verano que son calientes y fríos meses de invierno, pero tengo que hacerlo. En los días en los que he estado enfermo, mi empleador me ha permitido tomar un día o dos de descanso, pero sin pago. Como un solo hombre, tengo que pagar por la tarifa de tren, alquiler y comida y otros gastos vitales en la ciudad más cara de América. No puedo perder el salario de un día completo. Es por eso que estoy aquí hoy y doy todo lo que tengo cuando estoy en el trabajo. Y solo pido que me cuidar cuando necesito ayuda. 5 días de enfermedad pagados por un año no parece ser demasiado pedir. Como un trabajador que ahora que se beneficiará de esta expansión de enfermedad pagados, estoy muy agradecida a la ciudad y a su administración. Muchas gracias.
My name is Mauricio Jimenez, and I'm a member of Make the Road New York Workers Committee. I migrated from my country back 11 years ago. I came to this country for a better future for myself. I have worked in many industries, car washing, wiring, and construction. When I came here, I thought the workers of this country will receive a better treatment with safe working conditions, a living wage, and protections as paid sick days to care for oneself. This has not been the case in my experience. I currently work for an electrical and construction company in Brooklyn, New York. As an assistant, I work long hours, hard hours for little money. This work brings me down physically, especially during the hot summer days and cold winter months, but I have to. I have to go to work. On days when I've been sick, my employer has allowed me to take a day or two off to rest, but without any payment. As the only provider for myself, I have to pay for the train fare, rent, food, and other living expenses in the most expensive city in America. I cannot lose a full days of work. That's why I'm here today. I give all I have when I'm not working, when I'm at work and just to look up when I need help. 5 paid sick days per year does not seem too much to ask. As a worker who now benefits from this expansion of paid sick days, I am grateful to this city and this administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's call up Donna Dolan from the New York Paid Leave Coalition.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We finally arrived at this day, and as my colleague at the New York Paid Leave Coalition, Martha Baker, said, we have first and foremost Borough President Gail Brewer, who, with her leadership beginning back in 2009, and I'd like to underscore the fact that the original bill was introduced on August 20th of 2009. And Gail is the one that her persistence and her enthusiasm and her support and her dogged energy to make sure that this got done was incredible. And our hats off are to her and, of course, to Shula Warren, part of Gail's team, who was invaluable for this effort. And those of us in the New York Paid Leave Coalition, we came into existence in order to get a state bill passed originally, a paid family leave bill. And back in 2009, we started focusing on another paid leave issue, paid sick days. And so 4.5 years later, we are delighted that we have arrived. And thank you to the leadership of Mayor de Blasio, because I'll take you back, I think it was the end of January of last year, at a mayoral debate, when this, because of your leadership and your persistence, became such a key issue in the mayoral campaign. And we have you to thank. And I remember well our conversation at the end of negotiations, the disappointment that we were both feeling at the bill that was passed last year. And the fact that you and Council Speaker Mark Viverito brought it this far, we can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind. I remember that day. I think it was about a century ago, back January last year. Selena Alvarez of Make the Road, New York.
Buenas tardes para todos. Soy de México, Michoacán. Soy madre de 6 hijos, 12 nietos. Ahora en este invierno mis hijos se quedaron varios sin trabajo. Es algo difícil vivir en Nueva York. Y dice, mi nombre es Selina Álvarez, soy miembro de Se Hace Camino a Nueva York. A partir de Michoacán, México, hace más de 6 años que yo pude trabajar, ahorrar dinero y construir una casa para mi familia en México. Cuando llegué por primera vez a este país, pensé que los trabajadores recibirían el mejor tratamiento. Mi experiencia demostró lo contrario. En un trabajo anterior me despidieron por tomar un día de enfermedad. Mi condición vino realmente de todo el estrés en el trabajo. Mi trabajo consistía en ayudar a preparar la comida en un restaurante. Manejé todos mis deberes y pronto fue promovida a chef con mi propia asistente. Mi trabajo en ese momento se hizo más difícil de manejar. Mi asistente en realidad no estaba ayudando mucho, así que tenía que recoger todo lo que no se completaba. Cuando mi jefe se dio cuenta, me degradó y me mandó al sótano a cortar comida. Dice, esta experiencia era difícil y es la razón por la que estoy aquí. Hoy ningún trabajador debería tener que decidir entre su salud y el trabajo. Aplaudo la decisión del alcalde para firmar este proyecto de ley. Gracias.
My name is Selena Alvarez. I'm a mother of 6 children, a member of Make the Road New York. I came to Mexico from Michoacan 2 years ago. 2 years ago, so I could work, save money, and build a better house for me, myself, and my family. When I first came to this country, I thought that workers would receive a better treatment. My experience provide otherwise. In the previous work, I was fired for taking a sick day. My condition really came from all the stress at work. My job was to help prepare the food in a restaurant. I worked on all different types of things at the restaurant, assisting with the chef. My job then became more difficult to handle. My assistant was not really helping so much, so I had to pick up everything that was not completed. My boss realized he sent me to the basement to cut the food. I was very upset and I felt tense and stressed. Every week I felt I was working harder and harder. I called my employer to explain what happened and I went to the hospital, and then I called my employer to explain what happened, and he told me he would call me back, but he never did. My employer did not realize that the stress at work was the reason why I got sick for the first time around. This experience was difficult, and is the reason why I'm here today. No worker should have to choose between their health and their work. I applaud the mayor's decision to sign this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Kristen Hegel.
Good morning, Mayor de Blasio, and to all of you here in support of this legislation today. My name is Kristen Hegel, and I'm a labor and employment attorney with the law firm of Klein, Zellman, Rothermel, Jacobs, and Schess here in this city so nice they named it twice. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today regarding this legislation. We represent management, and we represent companies that are large and medium and small in size, and it is in that spirit that we are here today. Given the long history of this legislation, I feel a bit sheepish asking for additional information, but the truth is we have many questions regarding the reach of this Earned Sick Time Act, and we are hopeful that the implementing regulations will address these issues. First, it is unclear to us how this law will apply to those both working inside and outside of the city. For example, if an employee splits her time working on Long Island and in the city, which hours count toward the accrual of her sick time? The same issue arises with an employee who telecommutes from his home in Westchester County for a corporation with an office in Midtown in Manhattan. We would suggest that perhaps the hours that should count towards the accrual of this time are the hours that an individual spends physically working in New York City. Second, under this act, in order to determine whether the employer must provide paid or unpaid sick leave, the total number of employees is determined by averaging the number of employees per week employed by that entity in the prior year. It's unclear for us whether or not new businesses in their first year of operation would be covered by this act. And we hope for additional guidance on that. Third, we are hoping for additional guidance in the event that a collective bargaining agreement is in effect as of the Act's effective date of April 1, 2014. Although the Act states that it will be effective on the date of the termination of such agreement, it is unclear whether the Act begins to apply if the agreement has expired and the parties are in the midst of negotiating the terms of a new agreement, or if an extension agreement is in effect. Fourth and finally, although the Act states that it shall not be construed as creating or imposing any requirement in conflict with any federal or state law, it does not explicitly state that in the event of conflict, the federal or state law would govern. We look forward to receiving clarification on these issues and to helping our clients comply with the requirements of this very important legislation. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And now, Juana Alvarez of Make the Road New York. What's that? Okay. Carlos Navarro. Same, and, okay, now I assume Esmeralda Valencia might be here. My favorite, I was saving the best for last. As Esmeralda comes forward, we had the honor of spending some time in her restaurant in Bushwick, and she is really an example to all New Yorkers. She has been giving paid sick leave to her employees for years because she wanted a healthy, strong workforce. She is way ahead of the government and doing great things already, and a great New Yorker, great Brooklynite. Esmeralda, welcome.
Thank you. Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Esmeralda Valencia. Soy miembro de la organización Se Hace Camino a Nueva York. Tengo restaurante por 10 años en Brooklyn, en el área de Bushwick. Este es un momento tan significativo y un momento encontrado, debido a que algunos momentos cuando no tenía la oportunidad de ser una microempresaria, se me fue negada la posibilidad de ir al médico, porque leyes como las que hoy se van a firmar no existían en ese momento. Es un orgullo para mí ser parte de este magnífico momento para la clase trabajadora neoyorquina. Siempre tuve la fe y la esperanza de que este momento llegaría. Gracias a las autoridades que hoy nos presiden, al alcalde Bill de Blasio y a los concejales que nos han apoyado y las organizaciones sociales que siempre están apoyando a nuestros trabajadores, esto se ha podido convertir en una realidad. Esto es un triunfo para nuestros trabajadores, porque si ellos están sanos, van a ser más eficientes en nuestros trabajos y nuestra alimentación va a ser garantizada para nuestras comunidades. Gracias. Toma este. Porque está malo.
Listo. My name is Esmeralda Valencia. I am a member of Make the Road New York. I am a restaurant owner for 10 years. I've been a restaurant owner for 10 years in Bushwick, Brooklyn. In this moment, I have feelings that were found before I had the opportunity to open my restaurant, when I was denied the possibility to go to the doctor. Because the laws like the one that will be signed this week did not yet exist. It is an honor, and I'm very proud to be part of this magnificent moment for the working class of New York. I always had faith that, and hope that we would arrive at this moment. Thank you to all of the elected officials today who have supported us, to Mayor de Blasio and all of the council members who have supported us in this fight, and to the community organizations who have always been supporting our workers. Through their work together, this hope has become a reality. This is a triumph for our workers, because if they are healthy, they will be able to be more efficient in their workplace, and we will be able to guarantee more safe conditions for our customers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would remind everyone Esmeralda's been in business about 10 years, and she's had at least one of her employees the whole time, because she's created an atmosphere where people can live and work the right way. So congratulations to you, Esmeralda. I believe that's the last individual who requested to speak. And if that is the case, we will move on to the second piece of legislation. I look forward to signing the paid sick leave bill later this week. We'll have the formal signing ceremony. For anyone who needs to, if anyone needs to leave at this moment, understood. But let's go on to the second bill. The second bill before us also speaks to a specific family in need, based on a tragedy. It's introductory number 98, sponsored at the request of our administration by council members Miller, Arroyo, Rose, and Williams. I'm going to tell you this story, and it's a painful one. Aaron J. Thomas, a Department of Environmental Protection employee, was shot and killed by a coworker in the early morning hours of Monday, February 3rd, at a DEP building in Kingston, New York. Mr. Thomas worked as a watershed maintainer and had been with the agency for nearly 9 years. In his role, he helped maintain the lands and infrastructure upstate to deliver water to the people of New York City. He played a very important role, and he did it well. He was 33 years old. He leaves behind a wife, Susan, and 2 infant children, Everett and Brooke Ann. The legislation before us today extends health insurance benefits that Mr. Thomas had earned to his surviving wife and children. I'd like to thank the Department of Environmental Protection and our new Commissioner, Emily Lloyd, and all of her staff for their work on this important legislation, along with the staff of the City Law Department. I'd also like to thank the City Council for approving the legislation. I'd like to call forward the prime sponsor of the legislation, Councilmember Danique Miller, followed by the Chair of the Environmental Protection Committee, Councilmember Donovan Richards.
Once again, Mr. Mayor, thank you again for your leadership on this important issue that shows that this city and this administration respects the value of working people and the services that they provide to our great city. Mr. Thomas, unfortunately, was killed, as the mayor indicated, and unfortunately, up until now, we have these isolated individual occurrences that we have to go back and have to have legislation that would ensure the family, the dependent family members, that they will continue to have the benefits that they were afforded and were entitled to before they lost their family member. So I'm so grateful to be a part of this and to demonstrate the respect and value that we have for working people here in the city of New York, and that we could have those agencies involved. Unfortunately, it is something that requires legislation because of the collective bargaining agreements. It does not occur. We just, as you know, that 2 weeks ago, we had a transit worker, Mr. William Pena, was struck and killed by a truck which was being operated by someone who had a stolen truck, and he was killed, and to this day, his family will not be receiving those benefits unless there is similar legislation brought forth. So it's something that is certainly in tune with the progressive values of this administration and this council, and that we look forward to the day that we don't have to do this, that when men and women that serve the city of New York are valued in a way that when they lose their lives in the service of the city, that their family members continue their benefits. So I thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank my colleagues for making this happen.
Thank you, Councilmember. Now, Chair Richards.
Just want to echo what my colleague said and thank the mayor for this. You know, many of our DEP workers, they do a thankless job every day. They put their lives on the line every day to make sure that we have the best quality water in the world and in this country. And it's a very thankless job. So the least we can do is make sure when they put their lives on the line every day that we reciprocate them with what they have done for us. And, you know, it's an unfortunate situation that this had to happen to this young man and his family, but I'm just happy that his family will now be able to have benefits after he's done so much for this city. So thank you, Mayor de Blasio, and thank you, Danique Miller. Congratulations on your first bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had no individuals who signed up as speakers from the general public. So with that, I'll say that we will also look forward to signing this piece of legislation later this week and making sure that this family is protected going forward. With that, thank you, everyone, for participating in this historic occasion today, and look forward to seeing you at the bill signing later in the week.